That ain't quite right, my man. I'll tell you this, you're not Roman Reigns, you're not gonna be Roman Reigns, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a good thing. That's okay. You carve your own path, but where you carve your path, your best shot right now, you might wanna focus on those tag titles. Although from what I saw last week, you probably wanna stop sucking at being a tag team. But while I'm at it, Jimmy, I didn't mean to give you any shrapnel. I know you and I are good, but this man keeps getting in my way, and I will off your on switch. And you got to understand what I will do to you. But when I'm talking about you, I got...
Oh, super kick! It was time to shut him up, I guess, said Jay.
Too much trash this evening to eat. Fired up Jay.
All right, I'm assuming we're cool. I'm assuming you interrupted him and not me. But I understand your passion, brother. You want that heavyweight championship. But you're going to have to get in line behind me, and the man does have a point. Maybe you should focus on being a tag team, because I love Jey Uso. I don't like Little Roman.
Paycheck.
In 3, 2, 1, clap.
Huh?
Benoit balls.
I still think Kevin Sullivan did it.
I'm Aubrey Edwards. I'm not a wrestler.
Tony's quick sniffs of the week.
No, just my dickhead friends causing concussions and shit. All right, never mind.
There's barbecue sauce. So good, half the face don't work.
With Hogan that close up on the fucking camera reminds me of my racist uncle. I know you ain't listening, but you know who you are, you fucking racist.
Uncle Oh my God, for real, don't tell me that's his name. Oh, no way. I was kidding. I swear to God. That was just the first thing that came to my head. It was the first thing.
Welcome to the Top of Wrestling with your hosts ODM and the Professor.
Good wrestling day. We were the only undefeated team for like 4 fucking hours. But hey, it's the Top of Wrestling podcast. You know we say that because we're Buffalo Bills fans. And it didn't end the way we wanted to this past weekend, but I will tell you right now, we're here to talk wrestling. We're in a good mood. Well, one of us is. And we got news. We got results. We got Bring It to the Table. We have some upcoming shows this weekend that we're going to talk about. Some of the pay-per-views that'll be happening. And this week, our top topic is Ring of Honor, the first half of their first year. I believe I did bring it up, maybe at the end of last week, but I know I brought it up a while back. When I had no voice, I had nothing to do during the day, and watched a bunch of the original Ring of Honor pay-per-views. And that's all they had. It was just one a month pay-per-view. That's it. On to the next one. And you can get it on, back then was only just through videotapes. So anyway, here we go. We are going to talk news first. Oh, shit. Oh, ODM. Hey.
Thanks, fella. I'm glad you got me on a pay no mind list, you broken throat, broken knee bitch.
I was helping you. Wow, I am a broken throat and broken knee bitch. Wow, that was 2 in the same year, too, man.
Yeah, I know. It's a rough year. It's a rough year, man. Are we going to bother, or are we just going to blow past it? We're not playing the sad music anymore. We're done with that.
Oh, no. I refuse to do the sad music anymore.
All right, yeah. And I'm blaming it on you because you jinxed it. You had to say something about the only winless team, and you had to say it to an Eagles fan, too, so...
Okay, so I do have to say this, and I think I've come to a conclusion on something. I'm not superstitious, but I am a little
stitious.
All right. Last game I ever went to at Ralph, Highmark, whatever you want to call it, was a night game in 2015, 10 years ago. We lost. It was a Thursday night, our opening game of the year. It was like mid-September. We lost. I had not seen the Bills on the road all the way up until going to the Bills-Rams game just this past winter in LA. Now, in the entire time that I have not seen them, they've been great. They're monsters. I see Josh Allen for the first time. He loses that game. I come to Buffalo, and he loses another one. I think I'm the fucking problem. I can't go to any more games.
Yeah, don't. Stay home.
Wow. See a guy that ran away with the ball? Fuck it, don't need the rest of the game.
That was so fun. And they announced it, too. That was fucking great. That was the highlight of the night.
Can you get in trouble for that shit? I mean,
I know in the past they often will come to people and be like, we want that ball because they save them for whatever reason, like to authenticate them and stuff.
Right.
And people will haggle with them and be like, I'll give it to you if, such and such. And I don't know how that works, right? Because you buying a ticket is technically you're entering a contract. So it's very possible that somewhere in those terms you have to give the ball back. But then again, might be you don't, and they just fucking scare the shit out of people and be like, give me the ball. Give me the ball.
But what about when, let's say, Keon Coleman catches a touchdown, you see him throw it up to the stands? That's okay.
We don't know that, though. We're not seeing that every time that happens. So we don't know what happens. You know what I mean?
Well, that's bullshit. And you know what else is bullshit? Matt Riddle. We've talked about him before. Just a couple weeks ago, all of his remarks. And it's funny because I saw he responded about Booker T's remarks about him. And he said, it's funny, Booker's always really nice in my face, but all the shit he talks is behind my back. I'm like, fuck you, dude. But he doesn't, you're nothing. My favorite line that Roddy Piper said to Vince Russo when he had him in the ring in TNA, you weren't even a pimple on Hogan's ass.
Yep.
Riddle is not even a pimple on Booker T's ass. But he tried his hand in kayfabe by doing an interview with TMZ and was like, oh, yeah? Well, bro, you want to end this thing? Okay, fine. And, pushes the mic. They're like, hey, calm down. It was the cringiest shit. And he, kind of shoves the guy a little bit, making it look like it was kayfabe. But while storming off, he's smiling the whole time like, hey. I fucking hate him. And it's funny because you sent me something right before the call today that he would gladly accept a nomination into the Hall of Fame. That'll never happen, I can promise you that. Ronda Rousey will go in before Matt Riddle does.
Matt Riddle's not even
go in.
Yeah, Matt Riddle's not even close to the docket. I mean, him saying that is just stupid. And there's really no other way to put it. It's just stupid. It'd be me like saying, yeah, I'd get my dick sucked by Charlize Theron. Never gonna fucking happen.
Oh, I was like, where are you going with this?
Yeah, but that's exactly what him saying that is. It's nonsensical. You're not even close. You were barely in WWE. You know what I mean?
He's not even a pimple on your ass.
Well, there you go. Feels like he is.
Or Charlize Theron. Anyway.
Yeah.
On Prime, October 18th, it is going to be a new documentary coming out, Nevermore. Raven. I'm excited about that. It's about his career. We'll see what it's like. This isn't even...
I'm sorry. It's tough because we're oversaturated, right? With Dark Side of the Ring especially. It's going to focus mostly on ECW, which in the grand scheme of things, even that wasn't really that long of a run. I mean, we really going to talk about Johnny Polo other than that's his original gimmick in WWF? His WCW run was trash, man. It was trash.
Sure.
We've relived it.
Yeah, but maybe we're going to find out why it was trash.
Bischoff?
Maybe not. Because when he was in Ring of Honor in 2003-ish or maybe 4, his feud with Punk was huge. And Punk was going at him about the whole straight edge thing. He's like, he goes, you flushed your career down the drain for pills and alcohol. And he's like, and I'm straight edge. And it was a great fucking feud. Actually, a great promo. That's one of my favorite ones from Punk. But there could be a little more to it. Plus, there's that time that he was just sitting in the crowd at AEW that time once.
Yeah, sitting right next to Greg Valentine, right?
I think so. I worded it like this because it's just who she is now. This isn't even bullshit. I thought it was a meme. I thought it was bullshit in some way. But Taker's wife was crowned the best coach of season 2 of Let's Fucking Go.
Out of how many coaches? 4, 6?
Bully Ray and Taker? I mean, who else
Yeah,
was there?
exactly. Yeah, I don't even remember who else was there. It's,
Taker can't move, and Bully Ray just talks shit to everybody on it from everything I've seen. Meh. All right, look, we all have to stop. I get it. AI can be fun. ODM hated the babies, especially when I sent him Baby Tuco talking tight, tight, tight. But can we stop it with the AI wrestling videos? Here's the things I've seen, no bullshit, in the last 7 days. Mr. Rogers versus Bob Ross. One of them was on a... Oh, everybody always has an entrance coming down the Raw ramp. Mr. Rogers and Bob Ross, and it was a ladder match. Stephen Hawkins not only jumped off of the top rope and hit someone with a drop kick with his wheelchair, but also there's another video of someone laying on a table and he jumped off the top of a cage with his wheelchair.
This must be some new AI that they're using a lot, because I've seen a lot of these other people and other stuff. There's one of Hawking doing a half pipe and crashing and burning.
I did see the half. Now that one was funny.
Right. And then there's one with Bob Ross. He's painting with his afro.
Yes.
So
the other couple was Biggie and Pac settling shit in the ring. Chris Benoit coming out crying. And then you have NWO, Mr. Rogers. I don't know. Can we just halt a bit, okay? Just pull it back. The best... I love this piece of news that you have in here, and it's funny because, to me, the response from The Rock is the best, but Smashing Machine, it bombed opening weekend. It made $6 million. It was the lowest of any of The Rock's films. And he said, well, the problem is you just really can't predict the movie theaters. Yeah, man, because it's a fucking pastime. Everybody just waits 2 weeks till it's a streamable thing. Even if you pay however much to buy it or rent it on Prime, it's still cheaper than going and getting the 2 tickets and a thing of popcorn. Already cheaper if you wait 2 weeks.
Yeah, so here's a funny piece of little stats for you. Rock apparently usually gets about $20 million for every movie he does. All right. Rumor is he only took like $4 million and gave the rest that he would have made to his co-actors, Emily Blunt and somebody else. So let's go with that. Let's say that The Rock, and again, this is just what I'm reading, and the sources are from wrestling websites, so you know how accurate or inaccurate that's going to be, potentially. But let's just say, for this fuck of it, The Rock made $4 million for starring in this movie. It only made $6 million. That's pretty fucking bad. Apparently, what I read was it was a $50 million film.
Now look I actually, as time grew on, I was good in elementary, middle school, beginning of freshman, but when we got into like some hardcore fucking algebra and shit like that, I wasn't really good. But that math isn't math in there for me. I'm pretty sure he should have got some return on this movie.
It's not even Steiner math.
And it is reported that Gunther is going to be Cena's last opponent. I love it. I wonder if Cena will actually go out hardcore on his Shield. I mean, like taking some chops from Gunther, like good fucking kick his ass chops. Or does he have to keep it pretty for Hollywood?
There's CGI. You can get by it. He is a pasty bitch too, so those chops are going to show really nice.
That's why I want it. And this is going to be on Saturday night's main event. I love it though that it's all set up. They're going to do it on Peacock as well as NBC, so that when they cut from NBC, you're still going to be able to watch it on Peacock. To me, again, the funniest fuck you to Goldberg. I just want to thank my wife and it just goes off the air. So in contract news, Santos Escobar was moved to the alumni section for WWE, and he is an automatic free agent. It's funny because WWE acquires AAA, and they're like, all right, all these guys are leaving now. You got the obvious one, that we'll talk about in a couple minutes from Dynamite, but Santos, a lot of guys are leaving. But one familiar one that's funny that is back on the roster page, Shane McMahon. Why?
Yeah, I don't get it. I saw it reported, and I checked. First thing I did was go to the website, make sure that it was accurate, and who fucking knows? He could have been there for the last year. I haven't noticed that he wasn't there, but, so maybe they're just stirring the shit, and we just haven't noticed he's been there. But the thing that the post that I saw was saying was like, oh, get ready, he could be coming back in the ring. I'm like, no, he's not. Fucking walked around the ring last time and tore his fucking quads like his dad.
Well, I was just going to say, you know what happened the last time we saw him?
Never gets old.
It doesn't. And it looks like Killer Cross is returning to MLW, which, fine, okay. But him and Scarlett were on Chris Van Vliet, and they aired out some shit.
I haven't listened yet.
So, I'm going to spoil something for you here. So, Scarlett found it to be very misogynistic that the WWE said, yeah, we'll get to Scarlett, but let's first talk to you about your contract. And he was like, and they said, but you have 24 hours to sign. And she's like, that's kind of bullshit. She goes, and if you go back in time, I signed before Cross did back in 2021 or whatever it was. But also, they said if they do step over the line and go over to AEW, they're going to make it their home and they will wave that AEW flag. And I'm like, that's just money talks at that point, man. I'm like, and that sucks because I like Cross, but look, maybe they're seeing something we're not. I'm going to give it that. You know how we always say in our Top Topic promo, we are, we haven't been in the business, but we've been lifelong fans, much like you, yeah. Well, maybe we're not seeing something that WWE is. Maybe he really wasn't willing to take bumps. Maybe he wanted complete control creatively. Who knows? But you have to listen a little bit more into the Chris Van Vliet. I haven't fully listened to it. I only got some of the quick videos that I saw in the headlines of that stuff. So the up next is going to be Yo. And then, of course, in my favorite, topic of the week, TK's Quick Sniffs of the Week. Big Boom, AJ, Big Justice, and the Diddler are all set to return at Full Gear. Yay, promoting YouTube stars to wrestle on your show more than some of the guys you already have on there. He thinks that, I guess if he's making his own DC Universe or Marvel or whatever you want to call it, he said that Mox would be Batman, Wonder Woman would definitely be Tony Storm, Superman would be Hangnail, and Lex Luthor would be MJF. And just like the picture of both him and his dad at the Jets game, Shad is definitely looking very disappointed in his son, as always. So with Uncle Dave's claims of the week, he claims that right now that the New Japan has sold over 20,000 tickets set for Wrestle Kingdom 20. What's the biggest thing is obviously it's Hiroshi Tanahashi's final match ever. So that's pretty big, and I think that's decent. One of those funniest ones, how he always is with his I'm not sure, maybe not. He said, not really sure if Obafemi will or will not go to the main roster. It's a chance that he could go up there, but there's a chance he could be staying in NXT. Solid reporting, Dave. And then he also made claims as to why Andrade had left AEW in the first place, and why also he was let go from why he was let go from WWE. Well, Andrade responded, "Dave, you talk too much shit without proof. When the contract ended, I shook hands with TK and thanked him for our time together. If I wanted to talk more, I'd show you that you're wrong about many things, but I'll let you just keep killing the business." Then wrote something in Spanish. I don't know what it was. But I'm glad Andrade is calling him out. It's funny because, TK loves Melter. Melter loves TK and his wrestlers, but Andrade already talking some shit because he showed up for Dynamite. He was the guy that once the lights went out, Kenny Omega said, good night, bang. And Andrade shows up, takes his mask off, and he's there. And what's crazy about that is, he joins the Don Callis mid-card family. And so, I'm sure you guys have seen the actual list of the dates, but it's funny just to hear and see. So, obviously, Andrade was with NXT, moved up to WWE, but then in March of 2021, leaves WWE and joins AEW in June. Leaves AEW in December of 2023 and rejoins the WWE at the Royal Rumble in January 2024. Then ends up leaving WWE in September of 2025 and shows up on Dynamite in October 2025, just this past week. So I'm anticipating Royal Rumble probably 2027 for Andrade's return to WWE. Before we dive into everything that did happen on Dynamite, let's back up here. This NXT invasion that was going on. No longer an invasion. I had mentioned it last week, and looks like I was correct. A lot of people in Israel were very upset with the word invasion for this storyline. And when Santino came out on NXT this past week, who got a great reception, he said, this is not this isn't a summit. This is a showdown. I did like him introducing Mike Santana. Mikey Santana. This is Mikey, everybody. Solid to see Santino. He's always great work, no matter what. But the funniest thing about this whole thing is, as TNA was showing up, they showed up in a Cybertruck driven by Moose. And everybody was all around it. Couple weapons kind of stuff and right ahead of the ring. Matt Cardona there. And it's funny because the 5-on-5, or it's not even 5-on-5, I apologize. It ends up being 4-on-4 for these Survivor Series matches. But Matt Cardona is nowhere on the card. Maybe he shows up just to help out, I'm hoping. Again, this is for last night's actual Summit Showdown. But, he was there around everybody else in the Cybertruck getting ready to invade NXT at the Performance Center. It's funny. TNA doesn't have a TV deal, a world champ, or a knockouts champ, but they have a fucking Cybertruck. And another great thing is Kalani Jordan, an NXT wrestler, is holding the knockouts title for TNA, and she is headlining Team TNA. Okay. Now, a couple of days after the teams were announced, and the Iconics are on the team, as well as Kalani Jordan and one other girl I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but Jordan Grace ends up writing a tweet and saying, "You guys don't have an invasion or a showdown or a summit without me. I am the invasion. I am the crossover." And she's not wrong. Remember, she's the first one that really made the biggest crossover as a TNA Knockouts champion at the Royal Rumble in, I believe, it may have been 2024. And, good for her at that time. She was right. And so they end up making her the special referee for that match for the women's. And then they named Joe Hendry as the men's referee for that match as well. Which could, both could, have a lot of chicanery just because of that with the refs involved, special refs. The Hardys are taking on Dark State, titles for titles. there's rumors that it's actually going to be a definitive winner, and I'm curious of it. And then you also have Obafemi versus Trick Williams, Part 2. No one is allowed at ringside. So then on Wednesday, Dynamite. It was their 6th anniversary show. Yeah, so we already talked about Andrade returning, but also the opening package, I was actually impressed. For the first time, the very first time, I feel like, TK showed just a little bit of appreciation for the business or who was doing work for him. Because if you watch that video package very carefully, you get a couple of spots of Cody. The one where he does the moonsault off the cage to Wardlow, which I will never forget ODM said at that exact time. That is something we're going to see for ages in every Dynamite package or every AEW package. You weren't lying. So then also, the biggest one was CM Punk. I think there may have been 2 videos. Oh, the other one of Cody was him getting ready to punch in the glass door on the first or second Dynamite when the Inner Circle, or second one, when Inner Circle were upstairs in that one room, and he came up to him to try and break the window in. But they also showed CM Punk. It was when he was wearing the Sting mask, or Sting paint, when he teamed with Sting and Darby. I'll take it. You showed Punk. I'll at least appreciate that you did that. But, so, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hangnail Page all teamed up together against the Dick Riders. And after the match was over, Page saw the Trios title and just kind of tossed it out of the way. And Samoa Joe was like, bitch, that is my title. Even though, Page has the AEW World Championship, he had no respect for the Trios. And Joe got in his face, and it's official. They're going to be facing each other at Wrestle Dream. It would be great. It would be great if this was the actual chance where he would actually dethrone Page. Someone would actually beat Hangnail Page for the title, but I think he's on a lengthy title reign right now. I've seen him dodge a couple of good questions lately, being a good professional when it comes to AEW versus WWE in interviews. He's not bad. I will at least give him. He's not bad when it comes to just media and his job, I guess a little bit, but doesn't take advice from his elders. Fuck him. But after the show had ended, he was really pissed off because he threw out a tweet saying, fuck ICE, after a commercial had aired during the show on HBO Max. So that's what the world champion did this past week. Kyle Felcher retained his TNT title versus Orange Cassidy. And I had mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Hologram was going to have his evil twin show up, and it's El Clone. Well, El Clone was dressed as Hologram this week, and then disrobed to reveal that he was indeed himself. And he, much like Andrade, and they joined the Don Callis mid-card family. 15 members in this group. Okada should be the leader of it, or even Takeshita. But they're all putting it on Kyle Felcher, technically. It hasn't gotten better. On SmackDown, we're still seeing traces of upcoming fight between Orton and Randy. Jesus Christ. Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. I'd like to see that. I feel like maybe by Survivor Series, they're going to have a one-on-one match for the title. Again, anybody who could just take it off of Cody, I'd be fine with it. And Sami Zayn retained his U.S. Championship in the Open Challenge against Aleister Black. Over on Monday Night Raw, we had the opening that, if you watched later, you were appreciative, because the opening was Roman Reigns, and you could skip nearly 9 minutes before he even said his first fucking word. And then him and Bronson Reed have a conversation with Paul Heyman, and we are going to be getting an Australian street fight. yay. The one part that had me very interested in the night was LA Knight LA Knight in the ring with CM Punk. They went toe-to-toe on the mic, and I thought it was really well done. I think that Knight was on fire on the mic, and he's never not. He's always very, very good, as well as Punk. And I think I'd rather see this feud than Punk versus Jey Uso or anything else. And I think we might be gearing towards a Knight and Punk feud because they beat the Usos together, but LA Knight kind of snuck in to get the victory and take over everything, getting the win for him and Punk later in the night. I would love to see a Punk and an LA Knight feud just based off of mic work alone. They had the Becky Lynch versus Maxine Dupree match. Another thing I've complained about recently, the multiple segments. We gave this match 2 segments, and that was 1.5 segments too many. And here's why I say that. I think Maxine actually held her own for the first time in a long time. She actually looked really decent. However, we are looking to have this upset. She beats Becky by a countout in the second segment of this match. Crowd was into it. They were very hot for Maxine to actually upset Becky. I personally think they should have went with the 1, 2, 3 kid Razor Ramon type match, where by the end of that match, it was quick. They were done by, I don't know, let's just say 7 minutes, where Becky is pretty much beaten Maxine, but she gets a couple of roll-ups or something random. It should have been 1 segment, but a 7-8 minute match at the very, very most. But then the ref did the absolute fastest count I'd ever heard. She goes 1, 2. She was fine with most of the count. And then as Maxine got in the ring, she goes 7, 8, 9, 10. You're out of here. Which is fine. The crowd loved it. It was great. I just really think it was. It could have been done better. You did not need 2 fucking segments. That's my issue.
Yeah, no, it definitely went long. Once she got all the hope
hey, man.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Don't get me started. With the we got a lot of the hope spots, the close calls. It should have ended right there. It should have been Becky with the roll up. Now I get what they were going for, and you also got to remember that Lynch was keeping Calix at bay. Jessica Carr, right? Is that her name? Something like that. Okay, I think that's right.
Who is a friend
Calix.
of CM Punk's, which I didn't know if it had anything to do with it.
That's what I'm getting at, because Lynch had her corner, and she's like, "Get the fuck away from me! Get in there! Let's get this match going." I think they used that to tease what happened next, because it was so obvious. You can't help but play into that. That's really your only option at this point.
Well, remember when he fucked over Drew McIntyre? Jessica, give me your shirt. Give me your shirt. He put on Jessica's referee shirt to go out and fuck Drew McIntyre over in his, that was his Money in the Bank cash-in. And then also, Don was wearing a shirt of himself as a kid playing a PSP. I want to be friends with Dom. I'm liking him more and more each week. He's the shit. So, all right, this weekend, what do we have going on? ODM. Pay attention to these dates, because you're going to want to know one for absolute sure. So, Crown Jewel is going to be October 11th. What time does it start? I think 8 or 9 a.m. because it's Raw next week is starting at 8 a.m. I was like, oh, I love it. That's awesome.
Especially now you're on the East Coast.
That, but also I'll be home. So I'm going to cook up some breakfast.
Wake and bake.
Throw a little Australian. Yeah, wake and bake. One new match was added. You got the Australian street fight, Roman Reigns and Bronson Reed. I'm with Bully Ray on this next one. Why should I care? John Cena versus AJ Styles. Why should I even care about this? It's his last tour. I get it. He's facing people just to have decent matches and stuff, but there's nothing being put into it other than the crowd wanted it, and they were like, here you go, and that's it. Kabuki Warriors versus Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. Women's title match where it's the Crown Jewel Championship. Tiffany Stratton versus Stephanie Vaquer. And the men's Crown Jewel Championship. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, which I like. Punk is a pro. He realized he fucked up on Raw. He goes, Rollins and Cody, title for title. And he goes, I know it's not title for title, so let me just get that out of the way for people in the back get upset. Good for knowing your job. You have TNA Bound for Glory is happening the next day on October 12th, headlined with Trick Williams versus Mike Santana for the TNA World Championship. Hardys and Team 3D one last time in a tables match. I'm actually really looking forward to this one. And then you also got Leon Slater versus Javon Evans. Leon Slater is the Javon Evans of NXT, if that makes sense, or of TNA. And Kalani Jordan versus Indy Hartwell for the Knockouts Championship. But the next day, Monday morning, October 13th, this is where I'm going to need you to pay attention, ODM. Don't get online. Because a little while after, you'll know it. We got the IWGP Championship on the line at King of Pro Wrestling 2025. Let me get this right. Me. Zack Sabre versus Konosuke Takeshita. God,
Almost.
damn it. Global Championship, Gabe Kidd versus Yota Tsuji, and El Phantasmo defends the TV title versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. And we do have 2 new matches for Wrestle Dream. We do have the I Quit match, obviously, and that's going to be on October 18th, so it'll be the following week. But Darby Allin, John Moxley, I Quit, we know. But the 2 new matches that have been brought about in the last week, Samoa Joe versus Hangnail Page, and Chris Statlander versus Toni Storm, who is basically just looking to get her rematch. Yay. Well, man, only a week and some change away, and there's only 3 matches on the card for TK. How is he going to get to 14 so quick?
He'll do it on the episode before the go-home show.
Collision, Saturday night. Let's go to the table.
Just bring it, bitch!
Oh, my God!
So, first of all, while I was unpacking, remember how I found that Edge thing, the signature?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what else I found? I'm 19 years old at the radio station because I was working there. Picture of me and Bret Michaels.
Oh, yeah. Did he give you something to believe in?
It was nothing but a good time. Funny story, though. The main radio DJ had to go take a piss. And we knew these guys were coming and they were going to be playing at the Penny Arcade. It was just a Bret Michaels show. Him and his bouncer. And I know you never watched it, but on the show Rock of Love, his bouncer was there all the time, Big John. And I met both of them. They come in, and he comes over and goes, "Oh, hey, man, are you Brian? What's up?" Bret Michaels does. And I go, "Oh, fuck, I'm not. No, I barely know who I am right now because I can't believe I'm talking to Bret Michaels. Holy shit." I was a major hair band dude, especially in that era. So, So that was fun to see. But the other night, I talk about him every now and then on this show. My buddy Spada, he messages me. He goes, "Did you see Flair tonight ramping everybody up about the Rams, yada, yada, yada?" I said, "Nah, I didn't see it yet, man." He goes, "I don't mind listening to him talk." He goes, I like listening to Corny. He was just kind of talking about his podcast that he likes to listen to, and we're going back and forth. I'm like, TOW, we've talked about this, whatever. But he was like, the one thing I cannot stand is Conrad Thompson. I said, "Oh, yeah. Nah, he's a piece of shit. He's a fat fuck. I really don't like Conrad Thompson at all." And he said, "Conrad, he's like," and I'm using the right words here only for the show. He goes, "Conrad Thompson is like that boy who accidentally made it into the business." Like, I fucking lost it. I sent the picture to you because he used that boy's real name. And I sent it to you and I go, "Yo, this is perfect," because we all graduated together. It nailed it. And then also one last thing. This past weekend, my sister-in-law came over to see the house here in Watertown. And that boy's name came up when we were talking about the podcast and stuff. And she goes, "Do you think he listens to the show?" And I go, "I don't know." I go, "He'd have to go all the way back to find
No
out
fucking
that
way.
didn't want
No
him.
fucking way.
No, but to figure out that my dad didn't want him on the couch, I go, he'd have to go all the way back to find out that he was that boy."
Oh, I'm sure we've made some other subtle reference, not so subtle references.
Pay-per-views. If I'm like, I was at this person's house, he's like, yeah, I got that pay-per-view. I'll give him. He's got the knowledge of me when it comes to wrestling. So that's it. I just thought that was funny. They're like, "Do you think he listens?" I go, "Oh, I don't give a fuck." I hope so. We need the listeners.
Yeah, I know,
We need to
right?
go from 7 to 8.
Yup.
No, just kidding. We got Jarit, Jihad, Ahmed. They all want to, and Axwell. They all want to keep be talking on our podcast. Anyway, what do you bring to the story?
Jesus Christ. I might have to change it because I'm about ready to stab somebody, but we're going to power through this and then I'll be back for the wars. Kayfabe, pal. So there's a series on Netflix called Monster. They did the Menendez brothers. They did, what's the other one they did? They did another one. I don't remember who it was.
Didn't they do Dahmer, or is that recent?
It was Dahmer. So basically what they do is they make it's like a mini series based on, these monsters, killers.
Right.
And, but it's dramatized, right? So, they put their own little
I
spin
do
on
like those when they do the reenactment stuff. It is kind of funny when you watch some of
Yeah,
that
so
stuff.
it's not like a reenactment, like a documentary. This is actually a show where you have people playing each part, and
they are okay.
And it's dramatized, not to that extent, but to like the whole thing, soup to nuts, right? And they've been
kind of like the American thing that you talked about before. Like they did People vs. OJ, things like that, or whatever it was.
Yes, right. That's more of a
like
documentary where they'll do recreations that are cheesy,
Exactly.
right?
Okay.
Like Dark
You're
Side of the Ring, almost, right? Right. So there's that. So they just released a new one. I binge watched it. Ed Gein. You familiar with Ed Gein?
No, when you wrote this in here, I actually thought it was Ed Gein, so I'm already off. Go ahead.
So Ed Gein is like one of the first notorious, so basically his story was the basis for the movie Psycho. For the movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and for Buffalo Bill and Silence of the Lambs.
Jesus.
This guy was in Plainsview, Wisconsin. I think the crimes took place during the 40s, 50s. Rural town, less than 1,000 people. I think it was just over 600 at the time. And basically, one day they went into his house and they found a woman who was missing, who was hung up by her ankles, dressed like a deer, missing her head. And he would go to graveyards, dig up bodies, skin them, and use the skin to make lampshades, furniture. He had a nipple belt. He made a skin suit.
Well, you gotta have something that fits in the holes to keep it,
I guess so.
Especially if you're losing weight.
But yeah, so I mean he's real fucked up. But here's the thing, I watched this one and
this is the type of shit my wife watches, man.
Yeah, she probably already seen it. It just came out. She's probably already seen it.
Watching it right now.
Yeah, so they so the guy who did, I forget his name. I thought it was Channing Tatum, but it's not. I forget the guy's name. I'd never heard of him. But either way, he did a good job. It was an interesting series. The problem was they really glorified this guy a lot, and it was very historically inaccurate. Like, they got some of the big points. They took a lot of creative license and just spent a lot of time of glorifying him for being the inspiration for, like, these 3 cult movies. And I was a lot more excited. I had to watch a documentary after the fact just so I could get some actual factual information and cut through all the bullshit. Yeah, so entertaining as a piece of media to watch. The performance was good, I thought, but too much glorification of this evil person and just too much creative license, So there's ODM's mini review.
I do got to ask you. It's not Halloween is Rob Zombie stuff. I don't know who redid it, but in 2004, did you ever watch the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre? It had Jessica Biel and a couple other people.
No.
That, and then its follow-up, which was Texas Chainsaw The Beginning, it was the prequel to the exact same thing, and it had the same people. It had the drill sergeant from
Emery or something.
Emerson or whatever. Yeah, that guy. I actually find them to be really fucking decent, and in that they do skinning, things like that. So I'm just that's That's interesting. I may even dive into it now that you just talked about it. Like I have to get interested in something to want to watch a documentary. The one I actually want to dive into and I haven't watched yet is the Charlie Sheen one.
Oh, yeah.
Where, he's like, I like the other side of the menu. Penis.
Whatever floats your boat, brother. Just make sure you tell him you got AIDS.
I can't even I can't even say it out loud. It's HIRP. All right, let's sail on into the wars.
Monday Night Wars!
I did it.
What? Damn it. Look at The Rock. No,
In case you didn't hear, I admit, I did it. I ran over Austin.
It's a good thing the criminal charges were dropped.
And you ask why?
Damn right.
I didn't do it for me. No, I didn't do it for me. I did it for The Rock.
What? Did it for The Rock.
Well, I'm back in, at least for now, so thankfully it's my segment. Let's see. We've got Raw coming to you from Anaheim, October 9th, 2000. JR says Foley has guaranteed he's going to name the person who hit Austin with the car tonight. Okay. Foley comes to the ring, sign spotting. I steal cable. You can't hear it, but Professor is laughing profusely right now because it was probably him with the sign. Foley indefinitely suspended Austin for stunning him again on SmackDown. Then, for a reason, calls HBK to the ring, asks him where he was when Austin got hit by the car. This whole episode is just Foley accusing everybody. HBK says he has no motive. Foley shows Austin beating him for the title. That's your motive. HBK says he was sitting home watching Survivor Series, but he knows somebody who craves the spotlight as much as HBK does. If you smell what I'm cooking, accuses The Rock, and then HBK just bounces. We get Lita versus Jacqueline in a hardcore match for the women's title. Lita retains. We see Chyna backstage in a Playboy tank top and does the girl scream when she runs into Deborah. She's just back from her honeymoon. Kayfabe pal Austin. Not really, because they're going to bring it up later. We see Chyna has an engagement ring from Eddie. Deborah's looking for Foley, finds him. He's in his office. This week he's in the laundry room. We see his stuffed animal in the dryer. It's hilarious. I don't know if they taped it or strung it up or something. I don't know. The way that it was going around and around was perfect. It was too flawless. It wasn't natural. Foley asks how Steve is, Kayfabe pal, and says, I wonder, Deborah, if you hated the life enough to take Austin out just so you'd get a break from it. And Deborah gets defensive and says she's glad Austin stunned him. Triple H and Stephanie are in the locker room. Triple H is getting ready for a tag match. Foley made Jericho Triple H's partner. They're going to be facing X-Pac and Benoit. Stephanie wants to be at ringside, and Triple H is still against it. We see Linda McMahon arrive. And then we get Raven versus Blackman. Blackman wins. Raven's had 2 matches, and he's eaten 2 pins. And then when you think Raven's going to get the upper hand post-match, and when he starts attacking Blackman, no, Blackman fights back and gets the better of him. So, break out the shovels. Linda's in Foley's office. Foley brought her in tonight. Linda cuts him off, says, I didn't hit Austin. Foley says he found a hotel registry for Linda in Detroit. And she's like, yeah, I travel a lot, dumbass. And Foley asks Linda, who sold the most merch and made the most money since Austin has been gone? Linda says it was The Rock. Next, you get Benoit and X-Pac versus Triple H and Jericho. Triple H and Jericho trade blind tags back and forth until they start shoving each other. Triple H hits X-Pac by mistake. They're still boys. He didn't mean to do it. That allows Benoit to hit a German suplex. We get this sloppy finish. Basically, Jericho hitting the ropes, and it caused Triple H to crotch himself on the top buckle. Benoit gets the pin. Oh, I'm skipping past most of this shit. Hardy's with Lita versus Lowdown for the tag titles. Lowdown is the new tag team of D-Lo and Chaz. Poor Chaz, just floating around in purgatory. Hardy's win. Foley's with Al Snow. They're playing checkers, and they just have a back and forth. It's pretty funny. I'm not going to get into it, but those two always have good chemistry. So next you get Al Snow representing Sweden tonight, facing Test for the European title. Regal joins commentary, and speaking about Trish, says, "She's a buxom wench, isn't she?" Snow retains. Regal calls out that he had to use heat to do it. Chyna's in the locker room. Eddie shows up. She's pissed that it took him so long to get there, and they argue. So next you get Chyna and Eddie versus Right to Censor. It's Val Venus and the Goodfather, pardon me. And GTV comes up on the Tron. We're still doing this apparently. And it's video of Eddie in the shower with Victoria and Mandy. Chyna turns her back, sits on the steps. Right to Censor win. They try to check Chyna post-match, but Mr. Ass makes the save. Just a shout out. At this point, we see Michael Clark Duncan's in the crowd. Looks very excited to be there. Foley accuses Crash. We see Eddie begging Chyna to forgive him, trying to defend himself as she heads to the car. Chyna takes off the engagement ring, throws it at Eddie. Eddie runs into Mr. Ass. Mr. Ass runs him down. Then Eddie smashes a beer bottle over his head. And we get our main event. It's Kurt Angle, and Kane versus Rikishi and Rock. Kane attacks Kurt Angle at the beginning of the match, even though they're tag partners. They hate each other. They mention Angle is the number one contender for the world title. Stephanie's watching from the back. Angle drops to the floor for a good part of the match. He won't tag Kane in, but he eventually comes back when Rock is down. And instead of getting the tag, Kane chokeslams Angle and leaves. Rikishi ends up getting the pin. Foley's music hits. He comes to the ring, says he's going to announce who hit Austin, says all the evidence points at The Rock, and Foley finds The Rock not guilty. But who is guilty is Rikishi. And it's because in an earlier segment where Foley ran into Scotty 2 Hotty, Scotty said, "No, I was hanging out with Rikishi when it happened." Rikishi wasn't there for the pay-per-view. And Foley says the seats in the car were configured for a very large man. And, okay, I did it. I did it for The Rock. Basically, the best part about this whole promo is Rikishi's just running down the white man. It's always been about the Great White Hope, Buddy Rogers, Bruno, Bob Backlund, Hogan, and now people like Austin. WWF always let the Island Boys in, but always held back. Maivia was never champ. Snuka was never champ. Afa, Sika, Samu, Tonga Kid. All right, you're stretching it there. Rock didn't have a damn thing to do with this. I ran over Austin, and I'd do it again.
After these messages,
we'll be right back.
You know, I used to think the words to this song were, "I want to rock and roll all night and part of every day." Like they're only going to rock and roll for like a portion of the day, and also take time out for things like meals and, time with family and children.
There's a lot going on with this song, man. This is a rock and roll song about wanting to enjoy a rock and roll song. Does that actually make it a rock and roll song?
You know what? I'll do you one better. Ready to get mind fucked?
Give it to me.
The song The Monster Mash is a song about a dance called the Monster Mash, which is based on a song called The Monster Mash, which is not the song The Monster Mash.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to be high anymore.
Hashtag not a sponsor.
Nitro is coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. We see a limo arrive. It's Jeff Jarrett dressed as Surfer Sting. Get used to this. You're going to be seeing it a lot. Elix Skipper versus Ray with Tigress. There's a problem with the audio. I don't know. You could barely hear the music. You could barely hear Pinzer. Stevie Ray's on commentary, and then Tigress joins. And then Tori comes over the barricade and attacks Tigress, and Elix retains. We get Disco and Alex Wright with Shane Douglas doing shtick. Natural Born Thrillers come to the ring. Madden says they're young, they're not dumb, and they're full of athletic talent. Sanders is going to book a down underwear match. It's going to be Tori versus Tigress. They're going to start in safari outfits, and one left standing in underwear will be the winner. That's not true. He got that wrong. The one in the underwear is going to lose. Cat and Miss Jones come to the ring. Cat says he's going to break his foot off in Sanders' ass. They're both commissioners, and they're both going to give the fans a great show, and he feels like dancing, so somebody call his mama. MIA comes to the ring. It's a brawl. You get Boogie Nights versus O'Hare and Jindrak for the tag titles. Boogie Nights win, but Sanders comes out and says, no, there's a ref bump, so you're DQ'd, but start the match anyway, and Natural Born Thrillers retain. We get a Jeff Jarrett Ass Surfer Sting credit card commercial. It's not a real commercial, but it basically is. So, yeah, there's that. Stacy Keibler comes to the ring. Mark Madden's interviewing her. Wants to touch Stacy's belly. Fucking creep. Asks who the father is. Keibler says, none of your business. Tells David this needs to stop. And Madden says, is it because you can't remember who the daddy is? Were you drunk? Or have you been with so many men? Fucking creep. David Flair comes to the ring, wants her to take a blood test, and Madden says, hey, genius, she's obviously the mother. This is where you would hear Professor cackling, but, him and his fucking mic problems. And then Crowbar comes to the ring dressed as a pimp for reasons, tells David to chill. David attacks Crowbar. And then Mike Awesome makes the save. So that segment made complete sense. The Broads with Jeff Jarrett as Sting. And we get Tigress versus Tori in the down underwear match. Tori gets disrobed and lose. Sanders comes in. He's going to hit a franchiser. Nope, that's not right. Shane Douglas comes to the ring. He's going to hit a franchiser on Tigress, but Conan makes the save. Isn't Tigress Ray's girlfriend? Shouldn't have he come down to make the save for his girlfriend, not Conan? Anyway. Odalate. Whatever he says. Jeff Jarrett says Sting to the ring, gives Pinzer a script to read. He gets the Sting intro. There's a merch table just set up in the ring. He says he's going to start signing autographs. Then Sting repels from the rafters, and then they have a match, and Sting wins with the deathlock, and he won't let go. Hooray. Sanders versus the Cat with Miss Jones. Sanders comes to the ring, says Nash is going to be his partner, and Cat says, well, I got a partner as well. 6 words. Can you dig that sucker? Something like that. Anyway, Cat gets the pin on Sanders' brawl post match. Then Steiner comes in and attacks Booker T with a pipe, and he wants Sting, you son of a bitch. And Steiner says he's going to beat up the crowd too. The Broads with David Flair. He says he's not going to stop until he knows the truth, and he challenges Mike Awesome to a hardcore match. Makes sense. Next, you get Big Vito versus Goldberg. Goldberg has to keep the streak alive to stay employed. Goldberg wins in a minute, and then Johnny the Bull comes down and beats down Vito post-match. Goldberg makes the save. He tried to hit a pump handle suplex. It took him like 3 tries. We see a Mercedes pull up. We don't see who gets out. We get Mike Awesome versus David Flair in a hardcore title match. Not a hardcore title match, just a hardcore match. Imagine being Mike Awesome and having a sell for David Flair. Can't imagine that's something, a high point in your career. Thankfully, Awesome wins, and then we see Ric Flair get out of the Mercedes, and he makes the save from David being put through a table. Lance Storm with Team Canada versus Conan with Ray and Tigress for the Canadian title. Storm retains. And your main event, we get Scott Steiner with Medeja versus Sting. Jarrett's the ref, obviously. Sting attacks Jarrett. Billy Silverman comes in as a second ref, but Steiner takes him out immediately. Steiner uses the lead pipe. Then the Cat comes in, runs off with Jeff Jarrett. Then Booker comes in as the ref. He goes to count 3 when Steiner goes for the pin. He stops at 2. Sidekick, Scorpion Death Drop. Sting wins. And that's how we go off the air. Yeah, fucking fantastic, right? So let's go to my top topic.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for...
Best there is, the best there was, and the best that there ever will be. Hold 2, arm bar.
Sodas rule. Yeah, they do.
Hold 3, the moss covered, 3-handle family gradunzel. It's me, Austin.
Just when they think they ain't got the answers, I change the questions.
I did it for The Rock.
This week's top topic.
You know something, Mean Gene? John Cena.
Wrestling's not fake.
The Rolex wearing what? Diamond ring wearing what? Kiss stealing, woo, wheeling dealing what? Limousine riding what? Jet flying what? Son of a gun, woo.
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta,
The following ranking order and final decisions are a completely bias-based order, based off The Professor and ODM made it. And as always, they like to let you know they have not worked in the business, but have been lifelong invested fans much like you, our listeners. With not only their opinions involved, but with countless amount of hours of research done each week, they make sure to provide proper facts and history to back it up. However, they do know that your opinion may vary from theirs. If there is anything you want to chat about, bring to their attention. If there is something they missed or forgot, or you just want to let them know they are out of their freaking minds, feel free to shoot them a message on Facebook or Twitter, or email them at thetopofwrestling@gmail.com. As always, they do appreciate all feedback and continued support. At the end of the day, they want to make sure that you do see the best of the best before you die. And now, this week's top topic.
You know, it's funny coming right out of the wars, talking about WCW and their final months in business, and just a little over a year later, a new company had made their mark, and they were born in Philadelphia, and they were Ring of Honor. Now, at this time, you know, you could get a lot of these events strictly online, and they were also being released by RF Video, which was the parent company to Ring of Honor up until 2009 when Sinclair Broadcasting took over, basically all the way up until TK and his cocaine took over. Now look at, why am I reviewing this? I said it in the beginning of the show. I had time on my hands, being a broken-throated bitch, as ODM says. But I really got into Ring of Honor maybe about, let's see here, 2010. Maybe even 2009. And then really started diving back into what they used to be. And why I wanted to bring all this stuff up as a topic is not just to review some events. Yeah, you guys could read them up if you wanted to. But it's great if you have the opportunity to see what a lot of these guys were like back then. The ones that we're watching today on TV are ones that we used to up until a little bit ago. So being that this is the first half of Ring of Honor in 2002, we're only going to be covering 6 shows, which we're not going to be talking the headlocks, the clotheslines. I'm not getting all into that. I'm getting into the meat potatoes of each one of the shows because I found them to be very interesting. Some of the storylines, things that people were doing back then that can't even come close to happening today, or even, you know, some of the matches that were happening that were unbelievable and we didn't know were happening at the time. Because let's think about this. The beginning of 2002, right now, Triple H has come back from a torn quad, and he's about to win the Royal Rumble, go on to main event WrestleMania with Chris Jericho. You got The Rock and Hogan. And then very soon, we're going to have the WWF draft, because we have so much talent between WWF and WCW talent after the purchase of WCW. So let's dive in here. It was February 23rd in 2002 in Philadelphia. I'm going to say this right now. Every one of these shows were in Philadelphia, minus the last one, which was aptly named where they were. So the very first show is called An Era of Honor Begins. And what I like about the RF videos is that they show you the pre-show, things that are going on ahead of time, whether with the wrestlers backstage giving a couple of promos in the locker room while getting ready, or, you know, hyping up the fans outside of the show before the show even begins, which is what this one was. We had the Hit Squad, which was Mafia and Monster Mac. What was great about this is they get on the bus where all the wrestlers are, and they start pumping them up. So you got Bryan Danielson on there, Low Key, Super Crazy, Natural Born Sinners, Spanky. We're going to get into the Briscoes. We're going to get into a lot of this in a couple of minutes in some of these guys. But their message was clear. Fuck the WWF and fuck sports entertainment. Tonight, a new era. It is going to begin with Ring of Honor here in Philadelphia. So first out comes, for the beginning match, the Christopher Street Connection. They are a gay duo. It's funny because WWE stole this just not too long after to do the Billy and Chuck angle, except these guys were really making out. Until the Hit Squad, the same guys that just pumped up everybody on the bus, came out and squashed them. A lot of different gay chants that I'm not even going to bother saying because I kind of like doing this show weekly and I don't want to get in trouble. Amazing Red. I'm sure a lot of you may remember him. Had time in TNA, obviously in Ring of Honor. He defeated Jay Briscoe. Now, the man that came out next, I thought was Big E. And it was Prince Nana. That's right. The guy that swerves with the music, his dance. This guy was huge. If you have to look into it, just do it. Look at Prince Nana in 2002. Big motherfucker, looked just like Big E. He defeated a guy named Towel Boy. The next match was Spanky defeating Michael Shane. And then we were introduced to the Natural Born Sinners, which was Boogaloo and Homicide. And both men came out originally with a Leatherface mask and a Michael Myers mask. In the next match, it was Eddie Guerrero defending the IWA Intercontinental title. Not the WWE, the IWA Intercontinental Championship. Why? Well, Eddie was fired from the WWE at this point with wellness policy issues. He was let go, and he was rebuilding himself on the indie circuit, doing stuff with IWA as well as Ring of Honor. Now, Ring of Honor, at this time, it's their first night, no championship. So the IWA Intercontinental Championship was the one title that was defended throughout the night, and it was Super Crazy who defeated Eddie Guerrero to win that Intercontinental Championship. But the main event was a triple threat match with Low Key versus Christopher Daniels versus the American Dragon. They weren't actually calling him Bryan Danielson. They just kept calling him the American Dragon, which I found interesting. And Low Key won the match. Afterwards, Christopher Daniels grabs the microphone and is pissed off. He said, "I can beat either one of you in a singles match, no problem." Each man claimed that they could do the same, and it was set that the next month, the next pay-per-view that they get together, it was going to be a round-robin tournament. And so, the next pay-per-view, the second one in Philly in March of 2002, was the round-robin challenge. First thing they did is they established who the Ring of Honor company really is and what they're moving forward with guideline-wise. They discussed the honor code. You're going to shake before and after every match. There is to be no interference. Countouts are only by ref discretion, and they go up to 20, not 10, like you see in the sports entertainment wrestling. 20 is also the same number that New Japan and a lot of other companies use as well. In the opening match, it was a round-robin match, and Christopher Daniels defeated American Dragon. So he has got a win in this round-robin challenge. Later on, Prince Nana was out there again dealing with guys from the Hit Squad. We did get to see Joey Matthews and Christian York defeat C.W. Anderson and Elax. Joey Matthews is who we know him, Joey Mercury in WWE. It was great to see him. This was long before he ever made his way into WWE and tagging with John Morrison. We did get to see a guy named Xavier who defeated James Maritato. That's former Nunzio or Little Guido. But Xavier, we want to pay attention to. And his eyebrows. Look him up. Natural Born Sinners, they defeated the Boogie Knights. And yes, ODM, those are the guys that are on WCW, as we've talked about just recently. They actually made their way over to Ring of Honor right after. And Dynamite drop in ODM. In the next round-robin match, even though he won the first one, Christopher Daniels was defeated by Low Key. The next match... The next two matches were just, wow, in shambles. Paul London had a match with Chris Marvel, and it was just stopped by referee. It was stopped by the referee because Marvel jumped off the top rope and broke his leg legitimately on the metal guardrail at ringside. Horrible spot. Not like just, botch. I mean, just like a horrible thing to watch. And in the next match, it was Jay Briscoe versus Spanky. Spanky, as you know, is the Brian Kendrick. Well, Brian Kendrick got cut up the hard way, busted open the hard way, I should say, on the metal ring post, and just still fought for the next 10 minutes, and I mean pouring buckets, but he still defeated Jay Briscoe. Briscoe was 0-2 at this point. And his brother Mark is starting to give him some shit, as we're seeing in the background about this. And later in the final match, American Dragon defeated Low Key. And before this match even began, Ken Shamrock came out and he's like, you know what? I'm going to ref this match. Out of nowhere. So for the round robin challenge, all three men picked up a victory over someone altogether. Nothing was really technically resolved, I guess, if you want to call it that way. So then we go to our third show. It was a night of appreciation, and it was April 27th in 2002. And Jay Briscoe finally gets his first win by beating Tony Mamaluke. And Mark Briscoe giving him shit again, but still being with him at ringside. Later on, we had a pretty decent match. Low Key defeating a guy making his Ring of Honor debut at this time, AJ Styles. We did get introduced to Marcos and Dunn. They are the Ring Crew Express, and that is exactly what they are. They were challenged by the Carnage crew because these guys are helped setting up the ring and talk shit in the pre-show of, again, how each one of these RF videos were beginning, and they basically just beat a couple of jobbers, or the ring crew, as you will. There was a gauntlet match that had Paul London defeating everybody, where it was John Hope, Shane, lost his last name, Shane, Spanky, and the American Dragon. And then we end up finding out later on that we're going to be heading into having a tournament very soon for the Ring of Honor Championship. But the biggest part is the final match of the night is Eddie Guerrero and Amazing Red. They defeat the SAT, Jose and Joel Maximo. And we find out that Eddie, who is right now the reigning Intercontinental Champion, because he returned and is a part of WWF, but WWF allowed him to finish out his time with Ring of Honor. So he actually was able to go and, have one final match there, pay his dues. But not only that, the crowd paid their respect. They gave him a standing ovation, a "We Will Miss You, Eddie" chant. Really cool farewell. And everybody was in the ring. Ring of Honor promoter Rob Feinstein. And that was a big part because Eddie said, "You believed in me and you helped me get back to where I need to be." Really cool moment. I was a big fan of how this all played out. So now it is the fourth show of this first half of Ring of Honor out of the six. And this one, it was one of my favorites, ODM. It's Road to the Title. It's a tournament. And it's again in Philly, and it's in June of 2002. And this is, you have 4 different blocks, A, B, C, and D. And I'm going to pretty much blow through a lot of the tournament here, just because some of the guys we may not necessarily even know, or you may not know, so we don't need to beat it to death with this. But we begin, American Dragon is moving on against Biohazard in a great match. 2 good friends who end up being tag champs together in WWF only, I'd say less than a year later. It's Spanky defeating Paul London, so Brian Kendrick. Doug Williams defeated Jay Briscoe, in which Mark Briscoe got in Jay's face, pissing him off. Some guy named Jody Flesh defeated Johnny Storm, and Low Key defeated Prince Nana after a referee stoppage from a roadhouse kick to the head that just completely knocked him out, kayfabe-wise. Amazing Red defeated Xavier. Christopher Daniels moved on, and he defeated Scoot Andrews. But what the most important part was, we had the very first member of Christopher Daniels' Prophecy. This is a very big, important stable. It's one of the very first big stables in Ring of Honor history, and it's Simply Luscious who has joined him. AJ Styles defeated Jerry Lynn to move on. There was a women's match that happened where it was Samui Sakaki defeating Simply Luscious while Daniels was at ringside. Something that kind of brawled from the backstage, or brewed up from a backstage promo. Then we have a bunch of tag teams that are all talking and saying that they want to be the very first ever tag champs. You got Dunn and Marcos, you got the Hit Squad, Divine Storm, SAT, the Christopher Street Connection, the Carnage Crew, and the Sinners. So now we're on to round 2 of the tournament. Again, you know it. I love it when we have everybody doing as much as they can in one night. At least one match or 2 matches, or at least 2 matches in a night is fun for me. And Spanky is moving on, defeating Jody Fleisch, Doug Williams surprisingly defeated American Dragon, which the way they were pushing it with all these guys, Daniels, Low Key, Dragon, I assumed he was going to be moving on. And he didn't. So Doug Williams, and you may remember him from his later years, yes, in TNA. I think it was like 2010. He was a part of the British Invasion. Great worker. In the next match, Low Key defeated Amazing Red in the match of the night. It was an incredible match. Low Key, good wrestler, but got a bad rep because he's, from everything I've read from a lot of indie wrestlers who have actually met him, everybody says he's just a piece of shit. And it couldn't have helped him because, he was Caval in WWE and went nowhere. Then Christopher Daniels defeated AJ Styles, which this is kind of a little bit of a preview. In about a couple of years, we're going to get him and Samoa Joe in TNA with their match. In the ring, we have Daniels, Spanky, Low Key, and Doug Williams, the final 4 that have just advanced in this tournament. They're all in the ring, and announcer Donnie B says that Ring of Honor is going to be starting High Impact TV on WGTV or WGTW this September. It obviously was mainly going to be pushed in Philly. Not a whole lot of people were going to be seeing it. And then they unveiled the new and first ever Ring of Honor Championship belt. And all 4 finalists brawl with each other. Because at the next show, which is named Crowning a Champion, that's what we're going to be doing. Some notable people on this show. Again, Tony Mama Luke was in there. Joey Matthews and Christian York had a new valet with them. Again, Joey Matthews being Joey Mercury. They had Alexis LeRae. I'm going to give you guys a second. Do you know who Alexis LeRae is? Well, that's Mickie James. This is where Mickie got one of her very first big starts, was right here in Ring of Honor. And they defeated Prince Nana and Jacob Ladder. Due to his match with Low Key the month before, Prince Nana said no one was allowed to touch his head or his neck. And then he ended up taking a shot to the head, bailed out, and left his protege there. Kind of something that Nana has been doing weekly, which has been kind of funny. The Christopher Street Connection. You remember the guys I told you that are the ambiguously gay duo. Not mocking it. It's what they are. They start making a pass at Christian York and Joey Matthews. And then Allison Danger decided that, and Allison Danger is someone that ends up aligning with Christopher Daniels down the line. She decided that Joey Matthews and Christian York, they're not butch enough to be with the Christopher Street Connection. Look, I'm not saying every storyline hit with Ring of Honor, but, they were trying. They were giving their shot at stuff. And then we had an ROH contract match. Winners get to keep an actual contract and not have to worry about anything, because some of these guys have only been coming in on the indies and just being contracted for one night. And it was Michael Shane and Biohazard defeating Paul London and Don Juan. So this was kind of an interesting one for the story of the night. TWA, it's a wrestling school. Trainer Rudy Boy Gonzalez was at ringside as usual to watch over his students. Michael Shane had pinned Don Juan, and Paul London pinned Biohazard simultaneously. The ref counted 1, 2, 3 to give a win in the RO contract to Michael Shane. Shane called himself the Showstopper, which I thought was kind of funny. And Paul London kind of took exception to that claim. They start fighting with each other. Moving our way into later in the night, Little Guido, James Maritato, defeated Jay Briscoe. So he is automatically he's kind of the jobber, if you will. He had one win, and that's pretty much it so far. We did see the Hit Squad and Carnage Crew go at it. Homicide getting in there and, being crazy as fuck, which I always love. There was at this point now, TNA is also up and running, right? So we had an NWA TNA X Division title 3-way match. And AJ Styles defeated David Young and Adam Jacobs to retain. This is going to be something you're not going to see often in Ring of Honor, because this is something that drove a wedge between some of the guys like Punk and AJ, because Punk wanted to be able to do both shows, and TNA was trying to get them to contract only with one place. He was trying to unionize, and Styles ended up joining straight up to TNA, while obviously CM Punk stayed where he did in Ring of Honor. But after this is all over, Rudy Boy Gonzalez reams out Steve Corino for making fun of him on commentary. He appointed the American Dragon as his TWA student choice to get revenge on Steve Corino. Interesting enough, but I will see if that's going to lead to something fun. Dunn and Marcos, the Ring Crew Express, actually upset Brian XL and Dixie and Black Gordon. It was a 6-man tag. Fine. But here's the big part of the night. This is the part we really want to talk about. Who was the first Ring of Honor champion? And how they did it was a 60-minute Iron Man match. One pin gets you 2 points. If you're pinned, you lose a point. And the first Ring of Honor champion is Low Key, defeating Christopher Daniels, Spanky, and Doug Williams. I just kind of feel like American Dragon should have been in there. The first several shows with their the round robin challenge that they had going there, I can't believe that they didn't end up putting him in there instead of Doug Williams or Spanky. Spanky I was fine with. He had a lot of wins. Doug just kind of came out of nowhere, but that's fine. But how they ended up being for the final score, Low Key had 3 points. Daniels had 2. Spanky with -1, as well as Doug Williams having the same. Interesting. I did like an Iron Man match that had different points. It's not just how many pins you get, but if you get pinned, you lose points. It was a different version of it. I liked it. And closing out for this topic, we got the 6th show that happened in Ring of Honor in 2002, and it was August of 2002. Honor invades Boston, the first one that was outside of Philadelphia. And this was in Wakefield, Massachusetts. Again, noteworthy matches, things that went on. We did have the ROH title where Low Key defeated Chris Vine in less than a minute to retain. The Christopher Street Connection, they defeated Marcos and Dunn. And then we started having some really decent matches. Michael Shane defeated Paul London. Shane he had faked an ankle injury, which made Paul London back off. They made it look extremely real. Really thought he hurt himself, and then Shane scored the pin. Hey, I like it. It was a good fake. It's a good heel move. Later on, we did have Simply Luscious come out and offered Michael Shane a spot in the Prophecy. He ended up super kicking Simply Luscious and Rudy Boy Gonzalez, and he and Biohazard double teamed on them and having a kind of a fighting back moment, if you will. We did have the very first ever time limit draw in this company. American Dragon and Donovan Morgan went to a 30-minute draw. Match of the night, no lie, was actually kind of fun to watch. It was the Boston Massacre match. The Hit Squad. Remember, these guys that first, really got everybody going here in Ring of Honor, pumping them up, Mafia and Monster Mac. They defeated the Carnage Crew, which is DeVito and Loke. And then we also had the Natural Born Sinners defeat Tony Mamaluke and James Muratato. So basically just bringing the FBI back together. And then Mark Briscoe makes his debut after talking so much shit to Jay Briscoe. And he defeats his brother, Jay Briscoe, in Boston in his very first match. Unbelievable. And then, even though he won a match earlier in the night, he was then confronted by AJ Styles. Low-key was challenged one more time for the Ring of Honor Championship. And he ended up prevailing and retaining his championship for Styles. Good match. It was really, really good. That's the end of, all 6 of these shows, the first half of Ring of Honor. I'll be honest with you. Yes, a lot of these guys very, very green at the time. But I say that it's still very entertaining to watch them where they were, how they grew, where they're at now. Styles was okay for a promo back in the day. Basically, anybody I've named in the last 20 so minutes they were okay in this first little bit, but it's their first time really getting likely, let's say, recorded and distributed out, as opposed to a lot of these indie shows where they're all very local. So it's great to see where a lot of these guys, like I said, you got AJ Styles, American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, low-key, who was at this time extremely popular. But what's crazy is all these people we're talking about, we still haven't talked about, and we're going to be getting there once we get to the second half of this, Samoa Joe. We're going to talk CM Punk. Probably talk Colt Cabana. And to be honest with you, the Briscoe brothers a little bit more, and where that feud and all their argumentative bullshit is going. There's a lot more to the rest of 2002, and I can't wait to break that down soon when that next top topic comes up. Well, that's the end of our show, and I got to be honest with you, ODM, I've never felt more connected than we have been today. Next week, I'm excited about this. This is something this was sparked by you. You said, I gotta be honest, I think Lalo Salamanca is probably the greatest villain character we've seen on TV ever. And I was like, man, that's a good thing. And I'm like, that's a good conversation. But then there's so many different types of characters. So I want you to do your due diligence. I'm going to do my due diligence. We're going to have them in different lists. You can make a different list than what I'm about to say here, but, greatest characters in TV history. Sitcoms. Who's the villains, the best villains in TV history? Lead roles, even outside of your sitcoms, let's say Tony Soprano. Women, anybody, all different women that have been in it. Whatever you want to make as a list, but I think that next week is going to be kind of a very fun conversation when it comes to all different sorts of TV characters. I'm excited about that. Plus, we'll have results. Plus, we'll be talking about not only the Crown Jewel fallout, we'll actually get a chance to talk about Takeshita's win or loss at King of Pro Wrestling. And we'll talk about an 8 a.m. Monday Night Raw. Monday Morning Raw. Oh, they're failing it if they don't call it Monday Morning Raw. My name is the Professor. I bid you a farewell. And as always, ODM loves to leave you with his final thoughts.
Thanks, Professor. My job sucks. The Top of Wrestling Podcast is brought to you by The Top of Wrestling Podcast. Your hosts are the Professor Mark Fantasia and ODM, the Doc Joe Rizzo. Feel free to reach out to the show by email at thetopofwrestling@gmail.com, on their Facebook page, Twitter page, Instagram page. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. You can listen to the show on most popular platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music, Pandora, and YouTube. Without your continued support, it would be just some guys talking wrestling, which is pretty much what it is anyway. Good night, folks.
Yo, how did my stuttering perfectly just work into that for us? Like, holy shit. Just a little bit of stuttering and we just... I feel like that should be the name of the show. My job sucks.